Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm joined with Oliver from LearnUpstairs to tell you guys everything you need to know before studying architecture. So sit back, relax and enjoy. And just before we dive into the video, if you could please smash that thumbs up button and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. So yes, welcome back to a brand new video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Thomas Rowntree. I'm a Part 1 architectural assistant working for a practice in London, and I also graduated from my BA Honours Architecture degree back in June 2020. The other week I had the opportunity to speak to Oliver from LearnUpstairs and talk about everything you need to know before studying architecture.
What's up, guys? So yeah, as Thomas introduced to me, I'm Oliver. I'm a graduated architect from Brazil, and I've worked on the field for a couple of years. And today I dedicate myself full-time to content creation over the platform Upstairs, LearnUpstairs. And we do courses, packs, YouTube videos. We help students all around the world with architectural representation and visualization.
And just an important note before we dive into the video, we're here not to tell you guys what to do, but instead encourage you guys and share our experiences to help best prepare you guys as possible. And in this video, we break down everything you need to know before studying architecture into 4 main topics. Number 1 being software, number 2 being crafting skills, number 3 being communication, and number 4 being self-management. So sit back, relax and enjoy.
So in this video, we're going to talk about several things, and the first one is software. We're going to try to focus on beginners and first years and on people that are getting to university. Software wise, we have first 3D modeling that Thomas is going to talk about.
Yes, so to begin with 3D modeling and drawing, there's 2 kind of main softwares. You've got your SketchUp and you've got Rhino. So SketchUp is a free software that you can get with a student account. It's very quick and easy software to pick up, and you can generate a lot of initial ideas, massing, development, and final renders using SketchUp. But I would predominantly use SketchUp in the early stages of your design to create kind of quite sketchy models and 3D representations of your development work. And then the second software is Rhino, which is also a free software with a student account. It's slightly more complex than SketchUp and you can produce more detailed drawings. Rhino is a great software to produce high quality renders with more kind of complex geometry. And once you know Rhino, I think you will fly with other softwares, as I think Rhino is a good entry point software to get into.
Yeah, all right, those are the main 2. Of course, there are many more out there. And it really depends on the country you're in. Like some will prefer Rhino, some will use SketchUp. Like I think in the UK, the most used one is Rhino for more complex stuff. But then talking a little bit here about Brazil, we know that Rhino is not that used, and SketchUp is mainly, it goes all the way through like final stages of like development. Keep in mind that each country will have its preferences. And then moving on to the second, it's still talking about software, but to the second category, which is BIM, Building Information Modeling. And we have the 2 main ones that we can pinpoint here, Revit and ArchiCAD.
Yes, so Revit, personally for me in my experience, I've used Revit a lot, and it is seen very useful and very efficient for architecture practice around the country, especially in the UK, I believe. Revit is a great software to produce many types of drawings, and it is a great software for coordination and communication between consultants, clients, and practices around the world.
Yeah, that's essentially how a BIM works. You can combine many different systems in the same model, so that you can have structure, pipings, and interior design all in the same model, so that you can run the information through like everyone. And then after that, we've got 2D drawings. The most used worldwide is AutoCAD. Although we're naming a software here, they are just tools after all. You're gonna see that it's more important to learn how to draw as an architect, how to document stuff, even with a piece of pen and paper. Actually, that's usually the first steps, right? But then when you go into those software, they are just there to help you translate those ideas. They're not gonna solve all of your problems.
Absolutely, and just to add to that, going into architecture school, I think it's really important to focus on using a pen, a pencil, and using your hand, using tracing paper, using a sketchbook, and trying to stay away from a laptop as much as possible, because you'll actually find that softwares and laptops will actually hinder the progression of your architecture journey. So I definitely go into architecture school obviously understanding the types of softwares that are being used, but start with your architecture practice with a pen and pencil to be as creative and conceptual as possible.
That's why Thomas said about SketchUp, because you can throw ideas there and quickly build something up. And that goes on the same line about sketching with pen and paper. You can really be creative and not be limited to what the software allows you to do. The last topic here about software is Adobe Suite. This goes into more of creative category. We have Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, And we've got some alternatives as with the Affinity Suite. Those are not, I would say those are not mainly made for architects. Graphic designers use it, but they can certainly help you get those technical information and add a little bit of interest and details and personality to the drawings to help show the audience and help show the viewer what your intentions are with each drawing and image.
Absolutely, and I think the Adobe Suite is really important to help you tell the story of your project and turn those drawings and those ideas, those thoughts into real drawings that are representing the idea of your project and the story of your project.
All right, and that kind of sums up what software we're gonna talk about, but there's obviously like rendering softwares and other categories like Grasshopper, and you can go on and on. There's so many variables here. As a general guide, I guess, you can have BIM 2D and Adobe Suite and a 3D modeling. That should cover pretty much enough. But now we're gonna move into crafting skills and talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so section number 2 of this video is crafting skills, and as you guys would know, going into architecture school, architecture is a practical subject, so you'll be sketching and model making a lot during your time of studying. Of course, the university will teach you your drawing techniques and types of model making, but if you could practice drawing and model making beforehand, you could really put yourself in a good position before starting. So to give you guys an idea of the type of drawings you need to produce when you go into university, here is a project Oliver put together in his first year.
This was my first full project in university. The theme was a small library combined with a bike renting place. Very small and easy program for the first project. And in my uni, in the first year, all work had to be done by hand. And as a matter of fact, I started learning software just after a year and a half into architecture school. Since this construction was small and had to be flexible and versatile, at that time, all I could think of was to make it out of shipping containers. Obviously, if I were to design this nowadays, I would do it very differently, but I guess that happens to everything that we look after a few years, right? So I combined the shipping containers in a way that the internal space would be spacious and the program clearly separated, and the exterior space had well-defined access areas. In the main entrance, I managed to get a double-height ceiling to welcome the visitors, and windows were placed mostly at the ends of the containers to frame different views throughout the project. And now, being honest with you, your first project will probably come out not being as that architecture masterpiece you thought of, but what you gotta take out of it is the design process, the design thinking, and problem solving workflow. I guess that's the most valuable thing you can take out of uni, learning how to solve different programs, arrange user flowchart, and overcome design challenges. And no software will solve that for you. It's a skill you gotta practice so that whatever tool you're using, you're good to go.
And going into model making, this is probably even more important than the initial drawings and sketches, as this shows 3 dimensions and it shows volume, it shows depth, and it shows an atmosphere within spaces. So model making is really important, and this is another thing to kind of push away from softwares and making handcrafted models using different types of materials, using card, using scrap card, using your cereal boxes that you've got in your kitchen. These are really important moments to explore form, explore 3D, explore geometry, and really test and explore the development of your project.
And if you're not into architecture school yet, I think you might have a different sense of what model making might be. You might think about like green grass and little fluffy trees and little people showing how the building should be used. And you're gonna see that it's not like that. It's usually made out of a single material, and that, as Thomas said, like it can be many things. You can use scrap things to do this, but it's mainly to see the volumetric of it and see like in a proper scale. You can hold it in your hand. You can see it as a person's point of view. It's really pleasing. You're gonna see that instead of looking at 3D in a computer screen, you actually get the model in your hand, and it's quite an amazing feeling. I gotta say that, and if you get good at it, it's definitely a bonus during your school years.
It's almost quite satisfying, because looking at something in 2 dimensions and creating a drawing and then turning that drawing into a 3-dimensional form with a model, I think there's nothing quite like it. There's something really special about that, especially in your early ages of your practice and understanding how form and geometry works and how these elements will actually come to life. And these are really important things in studying architecture.
And whether you like it or not, like being an architect requires a lot of communication skills. And this time we're not only talking about communicating through drawings and images and model making, but also verbally to clients, professors, and other peers. I mean, it's not on the first year that you're gonna have to do presentations to 100, 200 people, but it's something that you gotta develop through those years.
Yes, and like Oliver mentioned there, it's not something that you have naturally. I think a lot of people out there aren't very good at presenting and verbally speaking. Personally for me, my communication skills going into architecture school weren't great, and I was always that anxious kid at university, going into presentations very, very nervous, and I still get quite nervous for those presentations. But going into university, if you can prepare for these moments, I think you'll put yourself in a good position going into presentations. You can prepare yourself by practicing public speaking, you could attend events, you could ask people questions, you can connect with people on LinkedIn and Instagram and get involved in communities. And these are all methods to build up your communication skills, whether that's digitally or verbally, because these are all really important in your practice of being an architect.
Yeah, and they all combine to making you a better architect after all. If you, for example, like if you're in a presentation for your professors and the project is really well done and the images are kind of okay, but then you mess up presenting it and showing and explaining what your design is, you kind of lose it all, and you can really mess up the things there. So it's a combination. You gotta be able to design, you gotta be able to communicate through images and drawings, but you gotta also be able to communicate yourself verbally. And as Thomas said, there are many ways to practice before really getting into the critical situation.
And then diving into the final topic of today, and that is going to be self-management. And I think this is something that is kind of often overlooked as an architecture student. And there's obviously these stigmas towards architecture and going into architecture that you're going to be extremely stressed, you're going to have no sleep, you're going to be up all night. And I think you can tackle these issues straight on with good self-management before going into university. And obviously going into architecture school, there's going to be a period of adaptation. There's going to be lots of late nights, there's going to be a lot of stressful evenings and days going up to presentations and submissions, but we're here to kind of encourage you guys to be able to get best prepared for that and to really look after yourself both physically and mentally.
Yeah, and personally, I don't like that mentality that architecture students don't have time and it's archi-torture and whatever that might be. I've been through university and yeah, it was tough. I mean, you have loads of things to do. As we mentioned, we have model making drawings, presentations, loads of lectures to attend. Yeah, it's tough, but if you have time management, you don't have to stay up all night trying to finish up that project. You don't see professors or other students talking about that. Sometimes you just gotta let go of your project. I mean, you gotta set a deadline to stop designing and preparing images and drawings.
Absolutely, and just to add to that, and to kind of round off what Oliver's saying there, I think there's a point of knowing when to switch on and off, and I think that's really important. And you build that up with kind of experience and with maturity while studying architecture. You need to understand your body and understand your limits, because it can get to a point where you put yourself under so much pressure and you give yourself so much work that it's just not feasible and you end up driving yourself into the ground. So learning when to switch on and off is an art in itself, and I think things like time management, like Oliver's mentioned, is really useful, and also finding a routine in your practice and going into university with a good routine and understanding how a routine works would really help you and benefit you in going into university and architecture school.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like we covered 4 topics here, but there would be actually much more we could talk about each one, right, Thomas? I think like software-wise, there are many more out there. Self-management, we could go on and on here. So
we've tried to give you a good range across each topic to really give you an understanding of architecture school before going into studying. If you've got any questions or any queries, obviously you can drop us both a message, but we're also thinking of continuing this conversation over at the Learn Upstairs YouTube channel. So if you guys want to hear more, ask us some questions down below and we will try our best to answer those questions for you. So yeah, thank you so much, Oliver, for coming on the channel.
Thank you guys. Don't forget to check my channel, youtube.com/LearnUpstairs.
Thank you, people. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time. Peace.